That's why the generals are asking this question. How the heck did this happen? I thought God was on our team. I thought he's our official sponsor. I thought he had naming rights to our stadium. We're supposed to win. That's the question I hear echoed in people's individual lives and in individual churches all the time. For churches, the question is, well, why aren't we prevailing? Why aren't we just reaching all kinds of people and discipling the nations, hand over fist? Same for individuals. Why, God, do you seem strangely absent at certain key moments in my life? Didn't Jesus tell us in Matthew 16 that we were the church and the gates of hell would not prevail against us? Well, so Israel's asking the question, how are we going to prevail against the gates of hell, and yet we can't even beat the Philistines? That's an important question. So much prayer, so much money has been thrown at Haiti. People are asking, so we should be winning, right? The interesting thing is America, much like Haiti, is filled with people who call themselves Christians, and yet you can see a slide occurring morally in America. I think you can see the same thing here in Haiti. And so I want to ask the question this morning, what does this story have to tell us about the difference between prevailing in the battle or failing in the battle? And I think we can take a look at two key words here in the text that give us kind of a hint as to why sometimes we prevail and sometimes we fail. The first word I mentioned before was Ebenezer. This is the place that the Israelites were camped. And it literally means the stone of help. It's a symbol of prevailing in God's name. The other word is an interesting word we're going to see a little later in this text. That word is Ichabod. And Ichabod means the glory has departed. In fact, in a little bit, we'll find out of this failed war that Israel fights against the Philistines, a child comes along who's named Ichabod. God's glory has departed from us. So let's read again from chapter 4. I'm going to read verse 4 through 9 here now. So the people sent to Shiloh and brought from there the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, who is enthroned upon the cherubim. And the two sons of Eli, the high priest, Hophni and Phinehas, were with the Ark of the Covenant. As soon as the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all of Israel gave a mighty shout, so that the earth shook. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shouting, they said, "What does this mean? This great shouting in the camp of the Hebrews mean?" And when they learned that the Ark of the Lord had come into Israel's camp, the Philistines were afraid, for they said, "A God has come into the camp." And they said, "Woe to us, for nothing like this has happened before. Woe to us, who can deliver us from the power of these mighty gods? These are the same gods who struck down the Egyptians with every sort of plague in the wilderness. Take courage and be men, O Philistines, unless you become slaves to the Hebrews, as they have been to you." You need to be men and fight. That's the Philistine response. Isn't that interesting? Well, look at the distinction here. I want you to notice that Israel sees the Ark of the Covenant kind of like a lucky charm. They see it as a superstitious symbol. They can just trot out the Ark of the Covenant and God will give them victory. And that's the way we are sometimes. We kind of expect Jesus to be like added on to our life as a lucky charm, just in case. We actually rely on ourselves, or sometimes we rely on other kinds of spiritual magic. But we add a little Jesus in just in case. So in verse 4 again, The generals come together from Israel. They say, what are we going to do? We're not supposed to lose to the Philistines. They're the bad guys. We're the followers of Yahweh, the one true God. So they send off for their secret weapon. And you know what that secret weapon is? The Ark of the Covenant. It was the atomic bomb of their day. They're like, we got the Ark of the Covenant. Now, maybe you've forgotten anything about the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant in Old Testament history was a rectangular box made very specifically by God's instructions of acacia wood. The lid was covered in gold. It was called the mercy seat, and on it were two sculptures of what the Old Testament called cherubim, made of gold. Now, the word cherubim, we're not really sure, but it appears to be an angelic character of some kind. Looks kind of part human, part lion, part angel. And these two cherubim were to be on the mercy seat guarding the Ark of the Covenant. In fact, the first time we hear mention of those, when Adam and Eve are kicked out of the Garden of Eden, God places cherubim to guard the way back in. Now, initially, the Ark of the Covenant was supposed to hold the 2 tablets of stone that Moses received with the 10 commandments on them. Later on, they put other critical things in there. Because God fed them with manna from the sky in the wilderness, they put in a pot of manna. And they also later on put in the miraculous rod that Aaron, Moses' buddy, carried around, Aaron's mystical rod. These were all visible symbols of God's presence. So here in the book of Joshua, we find out a little later that when the Israelites decide to begin to take the promised land, Joshua brings the ark in and they march it around, and it leads to their victory. Later on, they put that same Ark of the Covenant in the place they make by God's direction called the tabernacle. And they put it in an area called the Holy of Holies. And the Holy of Holies only contained the Ark of the Covenant, and the high priest would go in once a year and sprinkle blood, sacrificial blood, for all the people as an atonement for sin on the Ark of the Covenant. So the Israelites think, wow, if we drag out the Ark of the Covenant, we'll kill these guys.